Teachers' unions are ruining schools across the nation. I'm not entirely against unions. I think they do create a lot of problems when they're trying to get higher wages and benefits uh, for government employees because, there's no, they can just keep asking for more and more, and then regular people just get taxed more and more. And public employees tend to get more benefits than private sector employees for that reason, because they're not really dealing with budgets like the private sector is dealing with budgets and having to acquire profits. They just tax you more. They just take. So, and here's something to think about as well. About 50% of state budgets go to public schools. So the teachers' unions have an unbelievably outsized influence on state governments. And it's only been a negative, and they donate 99% of the time to Democrats. So that's a little weird. I mean, it's like almost fascism, because I mean, fascism is very similar to socialism, other than the fact that they're not, but they're basically pretending to run large portions of the economy or government instead of being more direct about it. Socialists are like, oh, we want massive amounts of collectivization, and you're supposed to follow it because it's more empathetic. It's all crap. But anyways, it says here, across the United States, teachers' unions regularly claim they exist to support the education system, protect teachers, and help students learn crucial skills. They argue that when teachers thrive, so can the pupils they educate. In theory, this sounds great. In reality, what teachers' unions are up to is anything but helpful. They're just pushing political narratives. Teachers' unions are the biggest supporters of equity nonsense, for example. Today, teachers' unions are little more than an extension of the Democrat Party. They repeatedly oppose school choice initiatives that would empower parents to play a more active role in their in their children's education. Years ago, teachers' unions even sabotaged school reopenings thanks to their insistence on COVID vaccine requirements and mask mandates. During this period, students across the country fell behind in their academic duties, which we're still seeing the ripple effects of today. To this day, the teachers' unions were never made to answer for this or even apologize for this behavior, right? The education system has been declining since the beginning of the Department of Education in 1979. Students are now reading at grade level. When they're tested in 4th and 8th grade, they're far behind. No new information reveals that these groups are gearing up to do even more harm to education in schools across the country. What do? Since the 70s, just hire more administrators. The student-to-teacher ratio has not improved at all since the 70s. But the admin-to-student ratio, my goodness, that has gone up dramatically. The great danger of teachers' unions. Public schools are in shambles. At the rate things are going, the federal government will soon be printing more money to remedy existing problems. As recently pointed out by Steve Forbes, many of our schools are projected to shut down in the years ahead due to the lack of students. On top of that, the money that public schools received during the height of COVID wasn't used appropriately and has quickly dried up. Amid the chaos, our nation's teachers' unions have a huge hand in this. The school shutdowns they championed directly led to a major decline in enrollments. And of course, teachers still ask for more money. Even today, the amount of students attending classes stands well below pre-COVID levels. Chicago school spending nearly doubles as scores drop. Cumulative percentage change in student proficiency in math and reading compared to Chicago public school spending from state and local sources. Spending. Look at that. Look at that graph. Look at that number. Jeez. Reading and math, boom, way down over the past decade. And guess what's happened since 2015, or more like 2012? Massive amounts of DEI, massive amounts of BLM and pride flags in public schools. Right? That's their religion. We have rules against this already. It's just that people don't see it as a religion, but it is. It is a religion. It's all about political consciousness as the priority, as opposed to believing in people's, a higher level consciousness, like during the Enlightenment period, or believing in a soul or whatnot. So education system keeps getting worse. It gets worse, though, despite the surge in spending with over 50% of our nation's state budgets going towards public schools. The quality of education is getting worse. Teachers' unions have rallied for kids to be indoctrinated with woke agendas much to the horror of parents across the country. When parents push back accordingly, school administrators and teachers unions treat them with contempt. They stated parents shouldn't be asking questions and had no right to raise issues. California is the biggest instigator of this kind of nonsense. Parents have a right to decide what their students learn, what their kids learn in school, right? The final say is not up to public teachers what students become. Joe Biden even threw fuel on the fire years ago when he declared that students belong to the teachers who are indoctrinating them. Before long, parents who question the procedures of public schools and various lesson plans were vilified by teachers' unions as domestic terrorists. Wow. By all accounts, teachers' unions have proven they can't be trusted. Parents cannot rely upon these groups to ensure their kids are being educated rather than indoctrinated and looked after. As a result, more people are turning to alternative options. And I'm going to leave this video there. If you want to read the rest of the article, check out dschooled.substack.com.